Hi, I'm Dallas Rising with the guidance team.
I'm Esther Carney with Development.
I'm Libby Porter with Data Entry.
I'm Amalia Jabara with Communications.
And we're from the Twin Cities Mutual Aid Project, known as TCMAP. You can find us at tcmap.org. In the days following George Floyd's murder on Monday, May 25th, demands for justice led by our Minneapolis community sparked worldwide protests against police brutality and systemic racism. Amid the uprisings, grocery stores and other critical infrastructure were impacted. Social media platforms were overwhelmed with information and urgent needs from the community, but these calls were often lost in a flood of other posts. To address confusion about which stores were open and which were closed, I thought of making a public spreadsheet so people could get clear and accurate information. On the evening of Friday, May 29th, I posted to Facebook asking for people to help populate the spreadsheet. I continued recruiting through the night and our scrappy team began to form. By the next morning, we had about 40 people on board making calls and entering data, and the store status map was born. We updated this map based on community-driven data, and it worked. This first map completely eliminated questions about which stores were open and when. The following day, we were asked to do the same thing, but this time for mutual aid sites that were cropping up all over the metro. Mutual aid means we support networks of freely given assistance and shared resources in order to make us all stronger and safer. While some sites were being overwhelmed with goods, others were still in desperate need. We knew a mutual aid map could help efforts all across the city. That's when we recruited developers.
Within 2 days of the initial call to action, TCMAP was a thriving project built on well-known tools: Google Sheets, Google My Maps, email, Facebook pages, and more. But there was a problem. Google My Maps doesn't update live from a spreadsheet. On May 31st, a web app was born. The prototype was tapped out at 3 a.m. Certain appalling truths of pulling JSON from Google Sheets were discovered at 4 a.m. It was filled with data at 5 a.m. and live to the world at 8:30 a.m. on June 1st. This was not a sophisticated web app. It was a single file, index.html. JavaScript and CSS were inline. There were no tests, no CI, no Google Analytics, and no separation of concerns. It was not pretty, but it was live. After a couple thousand hits on the site, we went to sleep. By around 6 p.m. the same day, open source happened. Developers looking for a way to help found the GitHub pages URL and started posting issues and submitting pull requests. When our local Code for America brigade, Open Twin Cities, invited us to their Slack, we had a team. The web app was hosted on GitHub and used Mapbox's GL.js. Suddenly, we had people from GitHub and Mapbox contributing to the project. Each hour, there was more progress. Soon we had a GitHub organization, an integration test suite, language translations, and a backend that was, and still is, Google Sheets. The civic tech community had shown up. The Twin Cities tech scene had shown up, and this days-old volunteer operation suddenly had a tech arm that rivaled many small and mid-sized companies.
In the first 3 weeks of the map's life, the project grew at an unbelievable pace. By the end of the mutual aid map's first week, we had a volunteer force of more than 100 people, now organizing in a TCMAP Slack channel. We developed a multi-team structure, including direct outreach volunteers who work with sites, learn their needs, and communicate back, and data entry volunteers who manage Google Sheets. The map was being shared all over, and media roundups of ways to help routinely linked back to TCMAP. Data entry volunteers were overwhelmed by constant traffic. The minute we addressed one Facebook DM from a mutual aid site or on-the-ground volunteer, we received 6 more. In the beginning, we had almost 1.1 thousand hits per hour. Over time, though, the sense of urgency wore off and attention to the site waned. The media moved on, and aid sites saw a dramatic decrease in donation traffic. Despite the decrease, our community's needs persist in light of ongoing resource insecurity, COVID-19, and the aftermath of the uprising. So we continue to be a hub that helps existing and new mutual aid sites stay resourced. As of August 1st, 2020, there are more than 270 mutual aid sites represented on our map. Our map allows results to be sorted, for example, with sites with urgent needs appearing first. We also have a search function. Let's search for diapers as an example, since it's a common and critical need. There you go. Since TCMAP was created to serve the community, we have an obligation to listen and make improvements to our data and the map based on community advice and feedback. not just around the quality of our information or the immediacy of our updates, but how the map functions as a resource. Many of our technical improvements have come directly from community requests.
As the map has evolved, so has the picture of need in our communities. This has allowed us to create focused visibility and awareness campaigns through community outreach. Need does not come in a single language or culture, and nor do resources. Our outreach flyers in the map now support more than 10 distinct languages, allowing many in the metro to access this cities-wide mutual aid network. We achieved our initial goal, and we're now looking towards the future. Our commitment to listening has led TCMAP to host conversations between site coordinators, allowing organizers to connect directly with each other and encouraging site-to-site collaboration. This facilitates mutual aid on a macro scale. Our hope is that the future of the map will include more accurate and comprehensive translations, as well as services or opportunities that are more abstract, like mental health or legal aid. We're also ready to pivot in other directions if our plans don't line up with what the community truly needs.
TCMAP acts as a bridge, providing a simple and accessible way to view aid sites' posted needs and to effectively meet those needs with donations and supplies. Here's how you can help. Give through monetary donations or donate supplies directly to sites in need. Share physical flyers, social media posts, or tell others in person. Use the map to help a site distribute their donations, provide translation, or receive financial support. Or volunteer your specific skill set. We have an ongoing need for developers, designers, and accessibility experts. Mutual aid is direct and collaborative action. How will you join us in supporting our neighbors today, tomorrow, and into the future?